Welcome to the show, folks. This is Wrestling Changed My Life. Here we go.
I'll just tell you my first day there in Minnesota, he pulled me down in the basement, and that's where the wrestling room was. And, he was a little power nugget. And but he made me feel big. And I was still young, right? But he's just a short, little intense guy. And he comes out, he's like, let's go. Like, all right. And boom.
We can endure anything and adapt and pivot and change. Wrestling gave us that ability.
I would say nothing in life has impacted me more than the things wrestling has taught me in terms of self-reflection, resilience.
Toughness. Some guys have it, some guys don't.
Adversity, 100%. How to pick myself up and be a man after I failed.
And everything that has shaped my life and where I'm at today would not be there without the values and basically the lessons I've learned through the sport of wrestling.
For me, wrestling saved my life because it allowed me to focus and channel my energy.
We're fortunate if you wrestled, because if you wrestled, natural talent helps, but it's 5% of the ingredient. It pales in comparison to heart and technique and effort.
It humbled me, taught me humility. Nothing can humble you more than wrestling. I think it's the learning to adapt, right? You learn how to adapt, you learn how to solve problems.
If I look back at my time I spent wrestling, if it gave me one thing more than anything else, it's mental toughness.
Ladies and gents, welcome back to the Wrestling Changed My Life podcast. This is your host, Ryan Warner. My guest today is the great Cory Cooperman, a New Jersey legend, was part of that Blair Academy team that had Kurt Backus, Zach Esposito, Steve Mocco, Mark Perry. They were dominant. And Cory went on to wrestle at Lehigh. He was a 3-time All-American there. And he was, I cannot forget to mention this, folks, only the third 4-time prep national champ, which he achieved while he's at Blair. Now he's a coach. He's coach at the New York RTC, and he's also running Coop Trained out in New Jersey. Really enjoy the conversation, folks. Hope you do as well. Fan of the week goes to my man, Cabanin. That's like HI11, LIKE, HI11 on the gram. I got to give this man a shout out. He sent me some amazing swag from Hawaii and is a big time listener of the show. So thank you very much. Folks, last but not least, this episode is brought to you by a Chicago Beat the Streets fundraiser going on this Sunday. It's actually a happy hour. Tickets are $40. It's going on at Bourbon Street on the south side of Chicago. The South Loop of Chicago, I should say. This Sunday, Beat the Streets Chicago. We're holding a happy hour, $40 a ticket. All proceeds go to Beat the Street Chicago, which is really doing some phenomenal things. That's it, folks. Let's give it up for the great Cory Cooperman. Peace! Cory Cooperman, it's an honor to have you. Couple places we could start. I found something, though, that kind of piqued my interest. I saw that Jared Lawrence was one of your idols or one of your mentors growing up. How did that start?
I don't know. I've had a lot of great people to watch, growing up. I guess, so when I was at Blair Academy as a freshman, I was telling this story last night, I like to pass the knowledge down to the next generation. Some of the older wrestlers, I remember hearing stories and they'd be like, this Eric Larkin kid from Arizona, man, he's like an alien. You shoot, he just disappears. Think about it. I'm like 13 years old. I'm hearing this. I'm like, he's like an alien from Arizona? Like, what? Eventually I wrestled that guy, right? But in New Jersey, everyone was a fan of Damian Hahn. I even had a shirt that said, I'm a fan of Damian Hahn, right? And he was out at Minnesota. I had watched Jared a lot, and then, you'd see him out there. He had his chin cup on. And I was like, I put my chin cup on. The thing about him was that he wrestled hard and tough, but also technical, right? He was smooth, but also tough. And I think that's something that, has affected me in my style of wrestling my whole life. We talk about being slick and, being physical, and it's like take the best of both worlds and combine them. I think he was one of the first people I really saw do that, and that's why he had a big impact on my career.
Yeah, I kind of forgot about the Damian Hahn connection in Minnesota. How big was Damian Hahn when you were growing up in the Jersey circuits?
His family was very, very involved in the sport in New Jersey. They had a company called Cookie Cuts, so they would make custom singlets, and Damian was doing Damien would be reffing at a tournament, winning the tournament, pinning people, wrestling NCAA champs, beating them. He's in high school. People would be challenging him. I had teammates that would challenge him at the tournament. He'd be reffing and then put down the ref and, put on a singlet and then go whoop someone's butt. And it was, just the way, he went about his business. He was very, very impressive, and he was a big guy who was very agile, mobile. Just the first time I'd ever seen anything like that. I think it was the first time a lot of people had seen anything like that. So we were all fans of Damien Hahn. I don't think he had any animosity in the state. Everyone rooted for him the whole time. So
he was reffing, and then he would get challenged by someone on the sides.
Yeah, I would say back in the day, like, oh, he's just a club kid of mine, teammate of mine. But Nick Fichetti, he wrestled. he stayed in the brands. He does big things, but now with MMA and stuff like that down in Florida. He Michigan State wrestler. Everyone was gunning, right? When you're on top, everyone's gunning for you. Damien was cool enough to accept that challenge whenever,
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, the kids tournaments are wild times. You got parents trying to match up other kids. I know you got started early on by a friend of yours, Michael Puro, got you involved in the sport somehow. How did that come about?
How did you get that information? How did you even know that?
I'm crawling the streets, man. I got to make sure I'm prepared for this.
Yeah, so Michael Puro lived around the corner from me growing up. His brother Dante's still involved with Rutgers wrestling program. It was really weird, I was into WWF like everyone else and all that stuff, but I'd go to their house and you'd see like a big stick with like matte paint around it and stuff like that. I'm like, what is that? Oh, that's for mixing paint for a wrestling mat. And then there's like a punching bag, and the old John Smith in his singlet, like crouched down with the tape on his ear. And that was the first thing I saw, just like floating around. And I'm like, who's this guy? What is this? And the dad had a jacket on. Eclipse was one of the first clubs in New Jersey, and like a wrestling jacket, because I still don't even know the involvement. I was literally in kindergarten, right? The mom was helping me take a shower properly, like you're a little kid, right? I'd see that stuff, and then eventually it was our time. We'd go to Jadwin Gymnasium at Princeton. We weren't watching wrestling. It was a state tournament, but we were playing, tag and manhunt, so we were around it. And then I think like third grade, I'd say it was our time. We got to step on the mat and get after it.
And then how did it go from there to your wrestling at Blair Academy?
So, I had a pretty successful first season. Like everybody else, I lost my first match, wanted to cry. I cried. No, not one. I cried, wanted to quit. Didn't. I think I teched my next two opponents in the same day, and it was on. I think I was like 14 or 15-2. I lost my first match of the year, lost my second match of the year. So I'll sum this up to get to Blair quick. The next year, now I'm training, right? I had a coach, Wally Muhammad, coached at Kane University. So I was a fourth grader at this point, finishing up my third grade year, fourth grader, training with a whole bunch of just huge college guys, city guys. The coach didn't want to take me. He said to my mom, I don't work with little kids. Right away he goes, does he go to the Edge? The Edge was
yeah.
It was actually right in our next town. We didn't even know about it. So we were just going down to the local university, Kane University, and he said, I don't take kids because of my mouth. My mom just was like, I just starts cursing up a storm. In other words, take them, right? And we trained, and good things happened, and I took fourth to the state. The states are in March. So after that, I had a friend, one of my best friends to this day, wrestled at Lehigh, state champ in New Jersey in high school, yada, yada. And his dad was like, you want to see what real wrestling's about? Yeah, absolutely. He's like, going out to Tulsa Nationals. We went out to Tulsa Nationals, and I won it, 70 pounds, 1995, still talk about it. My mom still talks about it if you catch it in the grocery store. But after that, it was on. It was on, we were full-fledged in, and Coach Buxton saw that, right? Because my mom was the type of mom that was like, we'll go visit family in California. I'm like, all right, let's go. She'd be like, we're going to Calvary Chapel with John Azevedo. You're wrestling over there. You're finding Stephen Abbott's training partner, this guy, Sean Kim at the time. You're going to go train with him. Like, we just go up and down. I was just wrestling, catch the beach a little bit, right? We were into it. We had, we enjoyed some success. And what was the next, the next best thing on the charts was going to high school, and Blair was national champs, runner up. My parents would drive me up there every now and then. And then when it was time to make a decision, there really wasn't a decision to be made. Like, do you want to do this? Like, my parents told me, you're going to college, you're going to have to get a full ride. Well, there's no better place for me to be than with Coach Buxton, right? And I will say this as well before you get into the next question. It was a very unique time, right? I mean, you think about it. Zach Esposito was a good friend of mine growing up. He would sleep at my house. I knew Steve Mako. We'd be at tournaments together. We were at clubs together. Kurt Backus. We were at clubs together. We knew each other. We were friends growing up. All friends, right? And we all go to school together. Mark Perry's dad's recruiting some of us. He's coming in, right? And you got those like-minded guys, and we're leaving so many names off. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful to the Prestons and Matt Beers, who has an unbelievable program in Notre Dame, Pennsylvania right now with Brian Crookham and all those guys, right? And there's a lot of like-minded guys there, a lot of good wrestling people, and the best coach, right? So it was a special place to be at this time, and I still get goosebumps thinking about how fortunate I was that everything just aligned like that, right? It's crazy.
True or false that Buxton wouldn't let the practice start until he got there and opened the door for everybody?
Yeah, he had the key. Yeah, but you know what I mean? There was a respect thing for Coach. I talked to him probably every morning still. Probably 5 days a week. We probably start each other's days off. If I call him, I'm pumping him up. Let's go. I'm not going to finish that off. And he calls me and I answer it. It's him saying it to me, and I can bounce things off him as a coach. I can bounce things off him really for anything and in any way. And he I'm 37. I'm getting older, right? I got 2 kids. I can sometimes, be a soundboard for him too, right? So it's a beautiful thing. And, I've had, as soon as you messaged me about, this, I'm like, what are we going to talk about? I'm like, I've had the best coaches. Sometimes you don't always see it at the moment, right? He's done some things to me that, man, I wanted to kill him. Kill him.
Like what?
Oh, I mean, so I was a very good technician. I wasn't the toughest guy in the world though. And so I would shoot high crotch, and I didn't like when guys would start whip my neck or choking me. I'd shoot in on a high crotch and he would start choking me. And I'd push away and try to get away from him. But he would just keep marching and choking me until I brought my hips to the party, picked him up in the air and spiked him, ferociously. Get up, do it again, right? That type of thing. There was times where he would, we'd be hand fighting hard and he would just literally throw me into the corner and just start giving me body shots. Until I turned him around, started throwing back at him, and then he'd throw me back in there, right? I remember this specifically, and this is cracking me up because I told him about it the other day. Team New Jersey camp. I'm in 8th grade. I'm not even on the team yet, but you recognize me, right? I'm going to go there next year. So I'm at the camp and I'm rolling around with everybody. And I kicked some guys' butts. I did really well. Not going to lie, right? But as practice, we're running around the gym. I'm like, like this. And he's just screaming across the room, Cooperman, take the face off, right? So, I mean, we're in my office right now. I got this whole facility over here. I don't coach my sons. I have 2 sons. My oldest son's pretty, he likes to do it. He's turning 8 soon. So I watch him in practice, and he's serious about it. But he'll be like that. And the other day, I was like, Cooperman, take the face off. And I called up Bucks, and I was like, I've been waiting to do that for 20 years. Yeah, I've had some great coaches, and the coach and I definitely have a special relationship. So,
was it hard to go from, living at home with your family to living at a boarding school?
No, it was fun. I'll be honest with you, I didn't want to. I was looking at St. Benedict's where Steve Mako went. We were looking at some local places as well. That first night, some girls helped me put on my tie and stuff like that. My mom looked and she's like, he's fine. But I mean, you're sleeping away with your friends. It's a sleepover. I mean, it's not that big. It's not college. It's not 5,000 kids. It's 400 kids. Mm-hmm. Let's just call it even and say 200 boys, 200 girls. 40 of those 200 boys wrestled. I mean, it was awesome. I mean, I would be a Friday night. Like, guys, let's get on the rope and we'll sneak down the wrestling room. We'll get a workout in. I mean, like, like there's things like that, right? You're in a small confines and with highly motivated guys, like-minded guys. Couldn't have asked for a better situation.
And what was the perception of Mark Perry when he got there and once he was added to the group?
So I was a junior heading into my senior year. He just lost his freshman year to his not winning state. So the world was over for him. He might as well have been dead, according to him. It was done. He's not gonna be a 4-time state champ. I was doing well at the time, man. I was kicking butt, and especially in high school. So bring a freshman in here, I'm just gonna smack this kid around, and enjoy it. And this kid came out like I got zero respect for anybody, and he started shooting his damn low singles and stuff. I'm like, who's this kid thinking? Show some damn respect, right? Come out in my state, you're in my room, show some respect. He came at me like he had a childhood grudge against me. He started like I took a state title, but Jesus, I had to fight. And I got the best of him, whatever. But I was a lot bigger, I was a lot heavier, I was a lot older. But I knew, this guy's trouble for somebody. Right. He's coming down the pipeline, and he means business. And so we had a good relationship, in that standpoint. And then at another level, right? He just, Mark understands the sport of wrestling too. He knows where he's good. And, he also recognized where I was good, and he knows that I'm very good with relating to the guys and communicating to the guys. And I'm also a technician, so I play my part. He has his areas where, he's really strong. Mm-hmm. And that's what, a good coach does, right? You surround yourself with those pieces that you need, right? So when he was at Illinois, I went and joined him out. We were almost going to Cal Poly together. He was out in Cal Poly and ended up there, but ended up at Illinois.
Yeah, I know. I noticed you were at Illinois and figured that was why. When you guys were in high school, what year were you when you went to St. Ed's and you pinned Lang?
That was my senior year.
That's a big duel, right?
Yeah, I mean, we were trying to, when I got to Blair, they had been national champs before. And then my freshman year, we were second. I think they were national champs when I was in 8th grade. So we kind of like lost it my freshman year, right? They told me that, they didn't care about that. What they really cared about was, these coaches, I don't know if I'm not trying to throw anyone under the bus, but they looked at what Walsh had. When you had like a Victor Spada, Joe Heskett, right? Nubb and Sonny Marchetti, right? Like the 4 guys are like number 1 in the country, like that type of thing. Like that's what we want a guy on the A6 poster, like first team, that type of thing. And I was like, coach, I'm going to be the first guy, and I was second, third, Parkland's coming through. I mean, like we didn't get it done. And then our senior year, we had a pretty good team, and we went out we beat Easton. Easton had beat St. Ed's in some duels. And then we had to solidify the national championship. We had to go out to St. Ed's and we had to beat them. We beat them, I'm pretty sure, by like 20. Standing room only. I've always had a lot of respect for the St. Ed's people, and we've always been good. And I think they respect that I beat some of their good guys, and we just always had a good relationship, And I lost to some of their good guys too, right? This kid Mason Lenhart, very tough my freshman year.
But it was standing room only though out there. It was like it
was standing room only. Like people hanging from the rafters. Like you're trying to warm up. There's people with literally the chest behind your back. There's no room. And we came and we put on a show for sure. Those boys are tough though. They're coached very well. Heffernan, Urbis, Mike Mose. There's a lot of really good people. Jeff Leonard. I don't want to say Mike Mose. I meant Leonard. But yeah, they always had a good staff, and we respected them, and they did their job. They were going to fight you. You knew that. So, yeah.
That's you look back at that lineup though, and both teams. It's just crazy how loaded you guys were, and of course, Mako at that time was just destroying people. I mean,
yeah.
Steve Mako, the legend, is well known, but I mean, anything stick out to you that just from going to Blair with that guy for 4 years, or maybe not even 4?
I mean, I've said this before, but I'll say it again. I think, some people, say like heavyweights being lazy and stuff like that. even at Blair, you still have to do the extra, right? Because, being extrinsic motivation versus intrinsic motivation, somebody telling you to do this and that. I mean, hey, easy. You know what I mean? I'm a soldier. You can tell me to do anything. I'll do it. I'm just going to go. Right. But how about me saying, I need to get up and go do this? That's different. Right. And at Blair, we all going to show up at practice and Coach Buxton's going to tell us what to do. We're going to do it. But who's going to get up and who's going to go in on Sunday? Who's going to get up in the morning and go? Right. And Mako used to come to my dorm room at like 6 a.m. and wake me up to go work out. And you can count on him coming no matter what. I specifically remember being on my top bunk bed, and we're in different dorms, and just hearing like all this rain and thunder and lightning. And I'm laying there going, yes, he's not coming this morning. You know what I mean? Like, he's not coming. And you just hear like boom, boom, boom. Yo, bro, open up. It's raining out here. I was just laying there like, maybe if I don't move, he's not gonna boom, boom, boom. And I was like, oh man, how do you not get up, man? Right? I mean, this guy's getting you up in the morning. Steve, he was different. He didn't like the whole like be friends with those guys. He didn't want to be friends with them. He wanted to beat them. He wanted to beat them up.
Yeah.
And that was good too, right? I was a little too friendly. Probably still am. I had my mean streaks, but I mean, he had it on a different level. And, he was more mature about it. I mean, in that way, like he understood what you had to do. You understood that you have to be ready to fight and be gritty about it. I needed some of that grit, right? So Steve was great to have on the team. Everyone was afraid of him, in our school and everywhere else. So it was funny to watch, A lot of people didn't wrestle and didn't have the courage to go out there, but some people did.
How would he get a good workout in high school then?
Well, we had a lot of different guys that we'd try to bring in. We'd run in Wayne Caton from Syracuse, maybe a national champion, running up either way. Syracuse, a great guy as well, great coach. Nate Burrows, who I work with his sons now. He was an All-American, I believe, at Brown, state champ maybe as well. I work with his boys now, and that's why it's all comes full circle, right? He'd wrestle with them. Solomon Fleckman would wrestle with them. Even a guy like Solomon Fleckman, who was our assistant coach at the time, and a Lehigh wrestler, and he was good. He may slick Steve with like a duck something to the backside. That happened. I mean, he was leaving with stitches. You know what I mean? So, I mean, not too many people wanted to wrestle him. What was his name? From East Stroudsburg. His name is slipping my mind right now, but it was Borzio.
You guys were like shipping people in to give him
goes. I don't care. College wrestlers, college coaches, whoever it took, come wrestle this guy. Please, somebody, save us some bodies. You know what I mean? Yeah, definitely interesting. Definitely fun to watch that.
So that Blair team's one of the best ever. You guys are recruited all over. How did you end up going to Minnesota?
So, I mean, I guess time moves on, right? So I guess we can talk about some of these things. I mean, I remember they were one of the first teams to recruit me, and actually Barry Davis at Wisconsin, he did an unbelievable job of recruiting me. I think with being at Blair and everything like that, like just like I left my town, I felt like I needed to be with the best.
Mm-hmm.
So the schools I wanted to look at were Oklahoma State, Iowa, Michigan, Minnesota, those types of teams, right? And I had full rides. I had, everywhere pretty much I wanted to go. A couple of schools didn't make the offer, and I called them on a payphone. That's how old I am. You can see from the grades. A payphone. I call up and looking for Jim Zaleski, and I get Tom Brands on the phone. I know who you are, Cooperman. That type of, oh shoot, right? They had a guy. Michigan had a guy, right? So some places it's just also timing, right? It doesn't mean if you have a dream, don't go after it. Go after it. Go beat the guy out, right? But for me, it was a financial situation where if they're already invested, I wasn't going to take that partial I needed the money, XYZ.
Mm-hmm.
Called Bobby Douglas on a payphone. That changed everything. He ended up offering me everything that I needed, you know. But I went and took a trip to Minnesota. I didn't like when they came out and recruited me, because Marty Morgan scared the crap out of me. He's just a big, bald, goatee, scary son of a gun, you know what I mean? But, you know, when I went out there, and I was committing to Iowa State. Like, I told Coach Buxton, I was like, look, I'm committing here. And part of that had to do with, you know, I really was first going to go to Oklahoma State. And, you know, Mark and his dad and this and that. Let's not get into it. We're all family now, yada, yada, yada. Move on. Iowa State, looking at it. Coach is like, you got to go check out Minnesota. All right. Now, Coach Buxton could have told me to go to Alaska University. I was going to Alaska University. When he says, like, oh, you want to be a Cowboy now? I'm like, oh, he doesn't want me to go to Oklahoma State, you know? Or if I'm at Iowa State, I'm saying, I'm going to commit here. And say, you got to check out Minnesota. I'm thinking to myself, there's something about this Minnesota. And it was the camaraderie there. It was like the Army. You know what I mean? Like, these guys were brothers. You know, you just felt it. Whether you're sitting on a stool and they're surrounding you, you just felt like, I'm not alone. I've got a team of guys that are, you know, if I'm falling down, they're going to pick me up and dust me off. They're going to move me forward. You know what I mean? We're going to get this done, right? And there's Damian Hahn, legend from New Jersey, right? There's Jared Lawrence, right, over here. You got Jay Robinson, right? I have, you know, Mark Schwab, who doesn't get nearly enough credit in the sport. That guy was a genius, right? And for me, it was like, these guys are beating Iowa, right? I like that. The maroon and gold, they're in maroon right now. I like that, right? A little bit of a city environment with the Big Ten situation with football and all that. I like all that. It was a perfect fit for me. No one thought so because they knew that those guys were very, you know. And to this day, you know, I left there and people that told you, but no, it still was the right fit. It was. I had my issues, you know what I mean? I had my issues. I wasn't making 25. I grew, and then I was, you know, this, that, and the other thing. And I was like, oh, you know, and I made a decision. I went to Lehigh. Got a great education, phenomenal coaches there. Right? But when you ask how to end up at Minnesota, that's how I ended up at Minnesota. I believed in my coaches, in the team there, and I liked the camaraderie.
Mm-hmm.
I like the Big Ten. I like the big football type situation, you know, and yeah, it was a little city environment. We weren't out in the cornfield, so it was all good stuff for me.
I'm glad you said that about Mark Schwab. To this day, he's one of the most downloaded episodes in this podcast. And like when he talks about his mental climate and the whole sports psychology of it, I could listen to that guy for hours.
So I'll just tell you my first day there in Minnesota, you know, he pulled me down in the basement, you know, and that's where the wrestling room was. And, you know, he was a little power nugget, and but he made me feel big. And I was still young, right? But he's just a short, little intense guy. And he comes out, he's like, let's go. I'm like, all right. And boom, headbutts me right. Ow, I'm sorry. I poked myself right where I just think I broke my face the other day. He headbutts me right in my nose. You can see just me poking myself in the face. I'm like saying, ow, you can imagine this dude headbutting me. I was like, oh. And I turn my back, and he like jumps on my back. He's like, oh, you know, he's wrestling me. I'm like this soft little high school kid. I'm like, God, grab my face. He still wrestles me, so I hit a standing switch, and I take him down, and I push him away from me, and I walk away. And as I walk away, he taps me on the shoulder, and I turn around, and he goes, whack, and punched me right in the face. And he's like, hit me back. I'm like, no way. You know, we kept wrestling, man. But this guy was great for my mind. He was great for my body. He was great for it all. We only had a short time together. But I tell you what, you know, I didn't learn too much technique when I was there. I learned a little bit of technique, but I was a technician before I got there. So I felt like I learned a little bit of technique there. But that toughness that I learned in those like 4 months there, you know, have carried me through life, in my opinion. So, yeah, kudos to those guys for sure.
How much different was the strength and conditioning stuff from what you were doing at Blair when you first got there?
well, we barely ran. We would do some outside stuff, carrying logs and things of that nature. These guys would be, Jay Robinson picked us up at like one time, like 6 in the morning or whatever, and dropped us off somewhere 5 miles away. He's like, I'll see you in 40 minutes. In the dark, I don't know where we're from. It's in Minnesota. I have no idea where we're at. You know, and then just get back to 5 sets of 15 squats, 5 sets of 15 cleans. It was insanity compared to what I was used to, but I loved it. You know, I loved all that stuff, you know, especially when I wasn't super sucked out. I mean, that's what you love, that grind, you know.
And I was just going to ask you that you're well known for your battles with weight cutting. And I got to say, I remember the MTV show, the weight cutting. Was that something where, like, were they following you around for a whole season, or how did that all come about?
Followed me around for a while. I mean, I was at Lehigh, and I don't know, they must have asked someone at Rutgers at the time, someone in that area. I can't remember, because my coach told me snippets. I wasn't even listening. I was a college student, right? Like, how you want to do? Yeah. But I think someone around the Rutgers area got asked, but, you know, those guys stunk back then.
Mm-hmm.
They're nowhere near, you know, Rutgers now is a powerhouse, right? Back then, they weren't respected. And I think they said, you know, maybe we don't have to be New Jersey. Maybe we can go kind of open up that radius a little bit further, find someone who's kind of decent and cuts a lot of weight. And they're like, well, this guy at Lehigh cuts a lot of weight. I mean, I really didn't cut. I mean, I guess I did. I definitely cut a lot of weight. I don't know. Wasn't too much of a story behind that. But there's a lot of people that cut a lot of weight. I just, I don't know. It was funny, I guess. Kind of regretted having to do that right away. You know what I mean? Like, after, like, as soon as it was coming out, I was like, oh God, I don't really want to see this. I watched it like 2 or 3 times probably in my life.
Yeah, it's I can imagine it's tough looking back on. I mean, it was so young back then, you know, to what
I mean, now. When you're in college, you know, people look at you like, oh man, this is in college. You could be fighting in war. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, but he's also just in high school a couple years ago too, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a late bloomer. I'm still like going through puberty. Right? So maturity mentally definitely wasn't, you know, I definitely wasn't mature about, you know, the way I went about my business. And as you get older, you see the way that you would have liked to go about your business, or, you know, you have guys that are in your club or kids that you coach, and you see how they are, and they're like, damn, you're half my age. You're as mature as I am right now. Damn. That's a huge advantage. I was such a baby. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, nothing you can do about it now. Just look back and, you know, I think, you know, for me, I look at myself as like, you ever seen the movie Grease?
I actually haven't seen that movie.
Really?
No.
Good, Ryan. There's a guy, and he's a guardian angel for this beauty school dropout. I like to think of myself as like a guardian angel for like my wrestlers, right? I mean, I think it all. I really feel like I've seen it all. From, if I didn't make the mistake, either one of my teammates did or one of my wrestlers through coaching have. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Whether, you know, this path is nice and lit up and it's an easy path, but if you're looking to get to that destination, this path isn't going to take you there.
Mm.
It's bumpier and it's dark and it's scary and it's, you know, it's a road less traveled, but I'm telling you, go down that path, it will lead to where you're looking to get to. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, just all types of advice. You know, I got a kid staying with me right now. I think he's really got a really bright future. He's an 8th grader from Connecticut. You know, and we're communicating about the mental, communicating about, you know, it all. I like to look at the mistakes I made, and probably if I didn't have the mistakes, or if I reached all the potential I had, I probably wouldn't think about it as much. It wouldn't matter to me as much. I wouldn't care to talk about it, right? I mean, but you just don't want to see history repeat itself for the guys you care about, right?
Right. And is coaching always been a big passion for you?
Absolutely. I mean, I probably said in like 5th or 6th grade that I'd be a better coach than wrestler. And I was right. You know what I mean? I mean, probably, you know, you gotta look at it like this. I mean, for me, I probably understood that, you know, put me in the practice room, I'm wrestling anybody and everybody. I don't care who you are. And it's usually going in my damn favor. You know, and that doesn't have to, I don't need even anybody of that high of a caliber that I could beat in the room, in the practice room. You don't have to be that high of a caliber to beat me out on the mat. You know, and it could have been a factor from my weight. It could have been a factor from nerves. It could have been the pressure that I put on myself. You know, a lot of times as athletes, we put the pressure on, right? So I got this kid in my house, and I see a documentary that says Weight of Gold. Oh, let's watch this. You need to see this. You need to understand this if you want to get to the top. It ends up being like everyone's like, I wanted to kill myself. Jesus.
That was an intense documentary, wasn't it?
You saw that, right?
I saw it.
And I was like, I felt like for the last 2 days, I've had to explain to them, hey, it doesn't have to go there. What you have to understand is they're putting that pressure on themselves. You know, this kid has a DUI, thinks it's the end of the world. You know what I mean? He's probably, you know, in contact with 15 people that have had that in the past, and they don't even know because he just thinks that it is. You know what I mean? It's all right. It's going to be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Eyes it a little bit, right? Doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. You know, it's not the right thing to do, right? But it doesn't mean it's over. Just relax. You know what I mean? Just kind of, I just like to communicate with these kids their fears. You know, I used to tell mine all the time. Like when I lost, it wasn't Twitter and stuff like that, but I used to think that it was going to scroll across the screen. Like, we interrupt friends to bring you this broadcasting. Cory Cooperman lost. And it's like, that's not the case. No, it's not the case. Really took me to almost like when Metcalf lost to Caldwell. Back then, it was like the Matt.com forums, and like the first day, it was like, oh, really enjoyed the Metcalf era. You know, I remember people.
Yeah.
You know, and that was like for like 2 days. Like the fourth day, you couldn't find it. It was probably like 4 pages deep. Because somebody was in a mood to rag on somebody else at the time. You know what I mean? Life goes on. So, you know, life goes on. It's not all about you. And as much as you think everyone's looking at you and thinking about you, they're not. They're thinking about themselves. That's just the way the world is.
Isn't that funny, though? Because wrestlers are so selfish anyway, that's just the kind of mentality that manifests when you're in that kind of commitment.
Yeah, I mean this with, how do I say this with not offending people? I feel like I was a very successful wrestler. I was also selfish. I think I could have been a little bit more selfish, and maybe I would have gotten it done. Because some of the guys that I know that are really, really, you know, the best wrestlers that I've been around, really, per se, oh, there's some selfish sons of bitches. Oh, there's some selfish sons of guns. You know what I mean? There's some selfish sons of guns. They really are. But maybe that's a little bit of a sacrifice that you take to not give a crap what other people think in order to get what you want to get done. And maybe that's what I was lacking a little bit. But that's just who I am as a person. So, I mean,
yeah,
that's what it is. Third in dominating fashion, Ryan.
Man, so many lessons there. It's funny that you say that about the kids who are, because I've had a wild past myself, but when you meet a kid who's, you know, 20 and you're 30, I'm 31, who's more mature than you, you're like, God damn, that kid's got it figured out. And so I got to imagine when you're up at Cornell, people like Yanni, people like Dake are someone you look at and you're like, the kids, they just have it going on. What was it like working with those guys up in New York?
I mean, I'm going to take it back to Jordan Lean. If you know who that is. Jordan, you know, his father was a coach. I mean, the guy just knew it. I talked about him the other day to my guys. You know, he'd just come in with his notebook and we flip through like, I got to stop at lefty high crotch, man. Just can't stop at lefty high crotch. Man, it's killing me. You know, that, and I got to work on when guys go on spiral ride. I just can't stop, you know, like that. And you're like, I mean, this dude was just, boom, put his mouthpiece in, going to get a lift, going to do this. I'm like, holy crap. I mean, I never came in with any game plan. You know what I mean? My biggest game plan I ever put out there in a match was against Tion Ware once. I said, look, I need to get to his back leg. I can't get to it by shooting, so I'm going to snap him onto my lead leg. I'm going to let him pick it up in the air. When he picks up in the air, I'm going to dive through and get to his leg. And I did. And I got to it, and we went out of bounds, and I had mono, and I was exhausted 15 seconds into the match. But, you know, Jordan was the first time that I had really seen a guy come in so like focused and having a game plan and just so, you know, dialed in. Like, talk about like the expression, you got to be your own best coach. Dude was his own best coach.
Wow.
I mean, I was just like the older guy who just got done competing against him. I can still scrap. I'm a little bit bigger than you. I'm older than you. Probably going to get the best of us, of you right now, especially because you're competing and I'm not. And That's just two different things, right? You got the agita, you have the anxiety and the pressure, and that you're working out 10 times a day. Your legs feel like rubber. You know, I'm going out for hibachi after this, dude. Like, I feel good. You know what I mean? You don't feel good. So, and I'm not doing those team stadiums and those team lifts. You know what I mean? Like, I'm making recruiting calls. So you're hurting. I feel great. You know what I mean? But the dude was so dialed in. It was easy. Those guys are easy. I mean, they're just easy because, you know, you just got to play your part with it, right? Kyle Dake, I mean, that's a different situation. I had Kyle when he was in high school. I had Kyle after college. Two different Kyles. The first Kyle was nobody. We were trying to get a state title. This guy, Ian Paddock, standing in our way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I remember that dude from Warsaw, right? But you knew that Kyle just had what made Kyle is that he was good in all positions, at top, bottom, neutral, upper body. You want to lift? He can lift. You want him to throw? He can throw. You want him to shoot? He can shoot. You want him to scramble? He can scramble. You want him to do basics all day? He can do basics all day. Like, there's not anything he couldn't do. And then you put, he's athletic, and he's competitive, and he's stingy, and he's prideful. For a damn good combination. And I'm just this older dude. He's in high school and I'm in college, guys. So I'm just beating the crap out of him. Just like they were wrestling a 60-pound, 70-pound kid, a little John McGinty yesterday. And the dude's 70 pounds. I came home. I was like, man. I said, Hanko, did you see anybody goes with McGinty? I said, I felt pretty good. My wife goes, what, the 70-pound seventh grader? Yeah, I felt pretty good today. I was hitting my outside steps were ripping today. I felt good. It was easy to beat him up and whatever, but he would talk about, like, after I beat him up, right, I go take him for a meal and we talk, and like, it's that relationship and just staying with the guys. I think I helped him for sure. He definitely got better when we were in high school, and then I came back to wrestle him, and he was a different Kyle. Then I was just trying to say, hey, look, dude, I got kids. Like, take it easy on me, man. Put me down softly, right? Yanni's great. His dad is great. He's got a great support system. Kid's salt of the earth. What are you going to say? I mean, literally the nicest kid in the world. Loves the sport. Will do anything to be great. Will sacrifice his body. Doesn't care how hurt he is. I mean, him tearing his knee out as a freshman and going all the way through it. I mean, that's just like a piece of the character of the type of kid he is. Everything he gets, he deserves. I watched him, and I'll be honest with you, the first time I grabbed him, I went there, sent me up to go wrestle Kyle. That was not good. And I go up and go, oh, this high school kid, go stay with him for a couple of days. I'm like, all right, sure, And I go up there and I throw an underhook on him. And the McNeils were there, Lachlan, McNeil, and them. I threw an underhook on him, just all nonchalant. And he's like, what? Wizard kick. And I go flying over. I'm like, now I got up like in my stance. Just like when I kind of did something like that to Dake and he got up in the stance, I was like, easy. I've got kids. I got up like, well, I'm going to kill you now, little man. I remember picking him up and not putting him down because I am a man and it would have been kind of a jerk thing, but that was when I was like, oh, this kid's no joke. And I trained a kid, Kurt McHenry, time cadet world champion. If Kurt was giving somebody some credit like that, like, oh, you got to see this Yanni, then you knew like he was a real deal. And when I felt him, right away I knew he's a real deal. And that's where I've been fortunate, man. I've been blessed that I was thinking about the other day, like I've had so many, whether it's even the athletes, like I've had my hands on Spencer. Not saying I coach Spencer. I've had my hand, like I've gotten to wrestle with him before though.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And Jordan and Coleman and Jamil and John and Guerrero, like that whole Oklahoma State room, and the Minnesota, the Blair thing, the training center, and just all these different people, right? You grow up taking pictures with them, then you're across the mat calling them for stalling and stuff, Coach Strobel at Lehigh, right? Kerry McCoy, Pat Santoro, right? Chris Ayers, Jason Cook. I mean, like, I've had the craziest, like, I've had such good people to bounce things off of.
Mm-hmm.
When I'd go back for Christmas or something, I'd see John, and he'd be like, "Hey man, you in town?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm here." He's like, 8 a.m. tomorrow, man. I'll see you there. And then it's over. Once I see him and he starts telling me practice times, it's over. My mother-in-law could be like, "Oh, look, we're gonna go pick out a Christmas tree." I'm like, John said we have practice at 8 a.m. All right, well, we'll go do this, and and I'm there, and I'd have the ability to be like, let me ask you something. What's with the whole moving your feet thing? You know what I mean? Like, what's with all of this? And just kind of, bouncing. It's like if I had the opportunity to be like, Gable, why are we pulling on guys' heads? I've had the chance to ask these guys things. So I love the expression. If I see further than like the average man, whatever, it's because I stood on the shoulders of giants. Like I've had Kevin Jackson. I would leave Kevin Jackson off. Bill Zadek. Like I'm leaving names off of people that have had the opportunity just to bounce things off of, right? And watch and just study. Watching Takahiro Wada hit his shot in the '95 World Championships, and then he's in the Lehigh room, and I'm like, how do you hit the Wada shot? He didn't know what I'm talking about. Like, your shot, dude. The shot that you hit, how do you do it? Speaking Japanese, right? Sergey Beloglazov, Valentin Jordanov, like 7-time world champs, and like learning from these types of guys. I had the best wrestling experience. I'm not saying like that I won everything. I didn't, right? Won
Right.
Tulsa Nationals in 1995.
Right?
That's right. But I've had such a cool opportunity. I wouldn't change it for anything. Right?
And the one thing we'll wind down with, you alluded to it earlier with the fantastic John Smith impersonation. You're married to Leroy's daughter, correct?
Yeah.
So you've been ingrained into the Smith, the Stillwater world. What have you picked up from John, or what's something you noticed that the normal admirer of one John Smith maybe wouldn't know?
Oh.
Just through practices or things like that?
I'm not going to act like I know them more than anybody, especially I don't live out in Stillwater. I've been in that room quite a bit. I will say the first thing is this, that Zach Espo reminded me of a story where we were hitchhiking in Purdue, and the old Arizona State coach picked us up. The old Arizona State coach was Leroy Smith. Leroy gave me a ride before he even knew who I was when I was a kid, so that's cool. But that's also the type of guy. So the first thing I would say is this: outside of anything wrestling related or whatever, if you think like marrying into that family, like obviously there's a lot of us that are into the sport of wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
And I could show clips from inside of the Christmas household and the kids wrestling on the lawns and all that stuff. But I would say probably like for me, just like when we're talking about that weight of gold stuff and all that, the pressure, wrestling, and sport. It's this, it's 100% that and nothing else. It's almost like a journey. It's not like I married my wife to go on this journey, but it was like peace at the end of it, right? To see like, all right, we all get together and, we're going to sit down here and talk. It's going to be a State of the Union address for wrestling. How are we, where are we at now? Where are we moving forward? Is this what it's going to be? No, it was about religion, and it was about a family and love, and for me, that's probably what I needed to see. It probably gave me some peace in the end. You know what I mean? Was to see like, this is bigger than wrestling. You know what I mean? In the end, we wrestle. It's what we do. Some people say, it's what I do. It's not who I am. It's both. It's who you are. I'm a wrestler. I'm doing sales right now. I don't know if you know that,
I'm in sales myself.
Okay. What do you sell?
F5 cybersecurity software.
Nice.
Yeah.
I sell garbage. Containers, interstate waste services. Right. We handle waste in North New Jersey and New York City and stuff like that. Number one company in the area. But wrestling has made me what I am, right? So if I have a and this is funny, right? So I'm doing the job, and through September, and I'm going, I feel like there's more to it. I feel like I'm not working as hard as and I'm working this, and I got a mall that I manage, and I have my wrestling club. And I'm like, if I'm not working all the way until I go like 2:30, then I feel like there's something wrong in Denmark. Something wrong. I have anxiety about it. And my boss was like, yeah, dude, you have a workbook with goals that you got to, reach every month. So I'm looking at 35 goals. I've done 2 of them, and then there's other things I still have to do on that list. And the normal day is not stopping. There's customer service stuff happening, blah, 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 sites visits, this and that. And then there's a Jewish holiday in the area that I'm in. It's a lot of Jewish people up here. So I had like 6 days or so to get my job done, and bottom line is we got it done. I'm like looking at my partners. He's like, how many you got left? And I'm hitting him with the Anthony Ashland. I'm going 10 left. You know what I mean? And, you get it done because that's what wrestling has taught us, right? And that's who I am.
Mm-hmm.
It's who you are. It's what you do. But it was good for me to see that, how much of it is about family and love and stuff like that. I don't know. I mean, he's exactly, in a lot of ways, it's what he is who you'd expect him to be. He's a man who, when he speaks, people just shut up and you listen, because this man, has been to the promised land, and he'll take you there if you do what is necessary. And he can be stern. And if he's looking at you stern, you probably need a change of pants. At the same time, he's going to grab your kid and be like, look at them jowls. And like, you know what I mean? Like there's the wrestling part and there's the life part. And don't forget, like they're saying, how does wrestling change your life? There is more to life than this sport, but I am who I am in life because of this sport, not because of what I accomplished, but what it made me accomplish, what it made me do, what it made me become as a person, that, you will not stop me, my goal. No matter what obstacles, slow me down or whatever, I'm going to get it done, right? Because, that's what we do, right? We're not satisfied till we get to the top. But yeah, and it's, I don't know. I think that's my answer.
Perfect. Cory Cooperman, that's beautiful. And I like what you said about the wholesomeness, because whenever you hang out with the Smiths, humble brag, just because I have been the past 2 months for that documentary, which is a lifelong dream. It is cool just to see how they don't really talk about it that much. It's more so just about family and like joking and just good family stuff.
Absolutely. I mean, Leroy may, ask, hey, what's going on with this? Or Lisa may, but 90% of the time it's like, you got a text last night. It's like, want to get Caden a hippo storage thing or whatever. Like, all right, you know what I mean? It's not like, hey, did you hear about this coach and that coach? I mean, like, look, we're wrestling. We're very ingrained in it, I can go down that rabbit hole with Mark or, with Chris or any of those guys. But, I mean, we're all doing our things, and we'll reunite, probably for a Christmas here or there, you know what I mean? And but there's definitely love, a lot of love, just kind of caring about, the people's lives out off the mat more so than anything, you know what I mean?
Right.
Life will throw you a lot, sickness and, and a lot of just, whether it's mental, physical, emotional, there's a lot of stuff going on, losing jobs, COVID, how's this family doing? How are they doing? How's the kids doing? They're getting by. Do they need it? Right. I mean, there's like 100 people in there, man. So there's a lot of, and everyone just wants what's best for each other.
That's awesome.
That's what this world should be about, not just single legs.
But
low singles preferably with them.
If someone wants to learn a single leg though out in your area, how do they find you? Like, what's your club and how do they get in touch with you?
So we're in Mahwah, New Jersey, Apex Wrestling. It's the top of the state, but we have 3 locations. So we have one in Central Jersey and Union as well. My business partner, Damian Logan, he runs that one. And then they also offer All-Star BJJ with Jamal Patterson and Zoe Gracie trained. And then down to the south, down by Atlantic City, our All-Star Dane Tabano is crushing it down there. He's you can go see him and get some great wrestling in, and then also go head to the boardwalk. So, each area has its perks, right? I live in this crazy area over here where, like I said, to the left right here, we're going right out to New York State, and it's mountains and boulders, right? To the right, where I live, 15 minutes away. On that way, you're going to go up a hill. You're going to see all New York City. You know what I mean? So you're going from mountains and boulders, New York City, and then where I live, which is just this green, beautiful area, like living in the middle of the wood. That's New Jersey for you. right?
Man.
It's really cool. It's really cool. And then, like I said, Damien's down in Union, and that's where I'm from, right? It's a little bit more less trees, and then down the shore. So Apex Wrestling, go to our website. You can sign up. We're doing everything pre-sign up, right? So they can call my business partner's wife, Tina, and speak to her, or get on the website. All the COVID forms are doing everything the right way, just to stay safe first, then wrestle, right?
Beautiful. Well, thank you very much for your time, my friend. I've enjoyed the conversation. Have a great day.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Take care, brother. And all great things must come to an end. If you want to hear more from the podcast, text WRESTLE to 555-888. That's WRESTLE to 555-888. You can also find us on Instagram, Wrestling Changed My Life, Twitter, Ryan_N_Warner, as well as our website, WrestlingChangeMyLife.com. Take care, y'all.